The first rays of dawn crept into the cabin as we gathered our things. "We've got to be at that meeting first thing," I said, urgency lighting my voice. Linda nodded, her expression steely as she double-checked the documents we needed to bring. Everett shuffled to a small cabinet and pulled out a worn, leather-bound book. "Here's the original survey record from when Mike won his case. If they try to say this is their land, this will prove them wrong." "Perfect," I said, tucking the book under my arm. The weight of it felt like history resting in my hands, my uncle's legacy. "Jack, if we go in there and challenge Rick, we have to be prepared for anything," Linda cautioned, her eyes narrowing. "He'll fight dirty. Let him." I felt the fire growing within me. "I'm not letting him take anything more from us." As we drove toward the county building, my heart raced with uncertainty and anticipation. Each mile felt like a countdown to the showdown that awaited. The building loomed ahead, and the cold air outside chilled my resolve, but I wouldn't be deterred. Inside the bustling hall, I spotted Rick mingling with the county board members, his smug grin evident even from a distance. "Look at him, the king of the petty tyrants," I muttered, a surge of anger washing over me. "Focus, Jack," Linda whispered, pushing me forward. We approached the main meeting room. The air was thick with tension as I ripped open the door. Murmurs hushed and heads turned. Our documentary proof of ownership was on the table. Maps, affidavits, and every document I could muster to fight back against this orchestrated attempt to seize my uncle's land. "Ah, Jack Carter," Rick drawled, feigning surprise. "I wondered if you'd show up to this little gathering." "Let's cut the charade, Rick. You know why I'm here," I said, my voice steady despite the quaking nerves beneath. "Hey, this is just a routine meeting," Rick protested. "You're not going to disrupt it with your dramatics." I raised my voice. "This isn't just about a meeting, Rick. This is about your reckless disregard for the law and your attempt to bully me off my land." The room filled with voices, and I saw the board members exchanging glances. Time to capture their attention. "Keep talking, Jack," Linda urged softly, her eyes fierce. "I'm here to protect my family's legacy," I shouted, voice rising above the clamor. "This fight is about more than just land, it's about resisting a bully." Suddenly, Rick took a step back, shouting angrily. "You'll pay for this, Carter. You'll regret every word." "No, Rick," I shouted back. "It's you who will regret this. You've deceived everyone, and your reign is coming to an end." The tension in the room hit a boiling point as I heard murmurs of dissent. A board member flicked through a stack of documents before looking up, eyes wide. "Is there any validity to these claims, Mr. Weston?" Rick flinched, all bravado vanishing. "It's all a misunderstanding," he stammered, but the strength of his voice no longer held weight. "Misunderstanding?" I challenged. "You've been playing fast and loose with the law for too long. It's time the truth comes out." In a flash, the tides turned. The board members began to whisper animatedly, clearly torn between Rick's underhanded tactics and the hard evidence I had laid before them. I felt the momentum shift in my favor. "Listen, Rick, this ends now," I said, voice steady but charged with conviction. One of the board members finally stood, her face pale as if she had just realized the weight of the deception. "We need to investigate this immediately. The claims of forgery and misconduct against the HOA in light of this evidence." Before she could finish, Rick exploded. "You can't let him sway you. Look at the chaos he's inviting." I took a deep breath and continued. "That clown is about to lose everything he's built on lies," I retorted. "And if we band together against this tyranny, we'll ensure that communities like this one remain protected." As we were about to make our next move, a loud rattle echoed from the back door of the meeting room. Everyone turned, eyes wide, as a man burst into the room, panting. "I have breaking news. The Attorney General is launching an investigation into the Spring Valley HOA regarding fraudulent practices and recent complaints." The room erupted into chaos as people began shouting and demanding answers. But amidst all the commotion, I saw something that made my heart sink. The room erupted in chaos. Gasps echoed off the walls as people rushed to grab their phones, others whispered frantically among themselves. I locked eyes with Rick, whose face went from smug to ghostly pale in an instant. "What do you mean the Attorney General is launching an investigation?" He spat, trying to regain control, but the authority in his voice faltered. "Exactly what I said," the newcomer exclaimed, trying to catch his breath. "They've received multiple complaints about fraudulent practices connected to your HOA, and they're taking this seriously." The tension crackled in the air. "This is absurd," Rick shouted, but nobody was listening anymore. The board turned their backs on him, huddled together like scared sheep, discussing their next steps in urgent whispers. I felt my heart pound in my chest. "Looks like your little empire is crumbling, Rick," I said, injecting as much confidence as I could manage. "Shut up, Carter. This isn't over." His voice trembled slightly, revealing a man who was losing his grip. "Maybe you should have thought about that before playing God with everyone's property," I shot back, my voice steady. I stepped closer to the cluster of board members. "We deserve transparency and fairness. You owe us the truth." "Who's to say you're not part of this charade?" one board member challenged, squinting at me as if trying to discover my ulterior motives. "This could all be a ploy to take us down." "Yes, because I'm sure I'm the one who hired the investigator." My sarcasm dripped like honey, making their jeers only more pathetic. I could see doubt creeping into their minds, the strength of my resolve gnawing at their foundation. Rick shoved through the group. "You think they can just take me down like this? I'm not afraid of an investigation. I've got power." "Power doesn't work when you've built it on lies, Rick." I barked back. "Your reign here is over. You've made enemies out of neighbors. This community is done fearing you." A murmur swept through the crowd, gathering momentum. People nodded, whispering about their own run-ins with Rick's corrupt methods. I could see the tide turning. But just then, a phone rang sharply against the commotion. The newcomer answered, his eyes widening. "Sir, we have a situation. There have been reports of harassment at the Carter property." "What do you mean harassment?" I barked, fear shooting through me. "Someone's been tearing down signs and vandalizing the barn, sir. We think it's connected to the HOA influence." A collective gasp swept through the room before the crowd exploded in frantic discussions again. A few people suggested going to my defense, but I could see the fear in their faces. Their homes were at stake too. Rick tried to compose himself. "This is all a ruse. Planting fear in your hearts won't help Carter's case." But before he could say anything further, another man entered the room, looking distraught. "Guys, you need to see this." He held up his phone, displaying a series of grainy images of my barn, covered in spray paint. My heart sank. "What have they done now?" "There's more," he continued. "They've uploaded these images online. Some are, well, let's just say they're defamatory." The implications hit hard. My reputation was being attacked. They were trying to sabotage not just my fight, but me as a person. "Look, go investigate the vandalism." I ordered the group, my voice urgent. "If we don't do something about this now, they'll spiral out of control and damage everything." Rick sneered but looked nervous. "What do you propose we do? Launch a counterattack?" "No," I said, standing tall, letting conviction push through the tension. "We gather witnesses. We document every act of sabotage. We don't play their dirty game. We play ours, the game of facts, justice, and community." A few board members seemed to nod tentatively at my words, but Rick barked, "You think you can come in here and give me orders?" "Not orders. Solutions," I replied evenly. "You've let this go far enough. Identify the true criminals here." Silence enveloped the room, thick enough to slice. I felt my heart race as I took a deep breath, knowing I was testing the waters. But then, an older woman from the rear spoke up, raising her head high. "He's right," she said, color rising to her cheeks. "I've put up with bullying and harassment for too long. I won't stand by while he destroys us anymore." The tide had shifted. Others began to voice their agreement, one after another, stepping forward, emboldened. A rebellion was igniting, fueled by determination. Rick's face twisted. He knew he was losing them. "You'll regret this. You don't know what you're getting into." "Is it what you call power?" I countered, fearlessly. "Or is it desperation?" Behind me, I could hear muffled agreement. The belief swelled in the air. I felt a rush of adrenaline. And then, just like that, as if summoned by the mounting tension, the doors burst open again. This time, it was law enforcement. A group of officers stepped in, and I felt a mix of elation and dread. "Mr. Carter," one of them called, their eyes locking onto mine. "Would like to ask a few questions regarding the complaints we've received about vandalism on your property." I shot Rick a look, whose face had turned white as a ghost. This was it, everything he had done was about to blow up. The truth would not remain buried any longer. "Follow me," I said to the officers, leading them toward the exit. "Time to set this right." "Mr. Carter?" The officer stepped forward, determination etched into his face. We need your side of the story regarding the complaints about vandalism and the rumors surrounding the HOA. Enough talking. Let's go. I urged, striding toward the exit, adrenaline coursing through my veins. I could feel Rick's eyes boring into my back, but there was no turning back now. I knew I needed to show the officers the real mess Rick had orchestrated. As we made our way to the barn, I glanced back. Rick was trailing behind, panic seeping into his features. "You think they can save you, Jack? You're going to regret this," he shouted. Ignoring him, I pushed the barn door open, the hinges creaking ominously. The sight was a devastation I wasn't prepared for. Slogans painted in bright red smeared across the walls, signs ripped to shreds. "Here's the vandalism," I shouted, my voice echoing against the wooden beams. "This is just part of what Rick's been doing, pushing people around. And now he's hired goons to silence dissent." The officers exchanged glances, one stepping closer to inspect the damage. "Do you have evidence of who did this?" he asked, eyes scanning the chaotic scene. "I've been documenting everything. I have photos, eyewitness accounts. I just need you to listen," I pleaded, my voice thick with urgency. "People are scared. They're afraid to speak up because of Rick's threats." Just then, Linda burst through the door, breathless and wide-eyed. "Jack, you won't believe it. There are people outside, recording everything. They're live streaming." I felt a rush of excitement mixed with fear. "What do you mean?" "There's a crowd gathering. People want to witness what's happening, what Rick has done. This could turn the tide." "Good. Let them see," I replied, feeling emboldened. "If there's anything that can expose him, it's the truth." At that moment, I heard Rick's voice from behind us. "You're playing with fire, Carter. They won't listen to the likes of you." "Then let's put it to the test." I shot back, lunging toward him. "Let's see who they believe once they hear our stories." The officers, sensing the rising tension, turned their attention to Rick. "Sir, are you associated with the vandalism and harassment claims?" one of them demanded, authority in his tone. Rick's bravado faltered as he backed away. "This is all a misunderstanding," he blurted, but the desperation in his voice was evident. Linda grabbed my arm. "Jack, focus on the crowd. They need to hear this." We stepped outside to the scene unfolding before us, a collection of neighbors holding cell phones aloft, filming everything. The energy was electric, a palpable tension in the air.
"Listen up," I shouted, my voice clear and unwavering. "We are here today not just to defend our homes, but to reclaim our community from bullies who think intimidation will silence us. Rick Weston has terrorized this town for too long, but today we put an end to his reign." The crowd erupted in applause, voices rising in solidarity. Heads turned to Rick, who was visibly sweating, his facade cracking like the paint on the barn walls. "This isn't over," he barked, but the shaky edge to his voice undercut his bravado. "You're all going to wish you had stayed quiet. Look around you, Rick." I gestured broadly, taking in the masses, empowered and emboldened. "You no longer hold power over us. They are here to witness your downfall." The officers moved in closer, their presence demanding respect. "We need your cooperation," one of them said, staring Rick down. "We've received multiple complaints. If you don't have an explanation for all this, you could find yourself in serious trouble." Rick's face rippled with fear, then fury. "I'm not afraid of you," he shouted, but even I could see his bravado fading fast. At that moment, the officer nodded toward me. "Mr. Carter, do you have those documents ready? We'd like to hear what you have in terms of evidence." With shaking hands, I pulled out the paperwork, the original land surveys, documentation of complaints, and eyewitness accounts. "Hey, every claim against him, everything is documented. You don't have to take my word for it." Rick's anger fled anew. "You can't trust him. He's trying to manipulate you all." But the crowd was no longer looking at him. Their eyes were glued to me, and one by one, they stepped forward to share their own accounts of intimidation and harassment. The air crackled with weighty confessions, stories spun together like a tapestry against Rick's tyranny. Each voice added fuel to the fire, pushing the momentum further beyond his control. With every riveting story, I watched Rick's facade tremble. He was crumbling, his empire built on deception, his tactics exposed under the relentless light of truth. Then something unexpected happened. An elderly neighbor I had barely spoken to stepped up. "I have tapes," Audio where we recorded him threatening my family when we tried to sell our home. She revealed her phone with shaking hands. I never thought I'd use it. A hush fell over the crowd. This wasn't just one isolated story anymore. This was a flood, and we were all caught in its tide. Rick, realizing he was outmatched, made one desperate last move. "You think you can destroy me? I'll take you all down with me." But before he could go any further, the officers moved in. "Enough," one barked, grabbing Rick's elbow. "You're coming with us." As they led Rick away, I felt a roar of relief surge through me. The crowd erupted into cheers, uniting in solidarity. I turned to Linda, breathless. "Did we really do it?" "Look at them," she grinned, gesturing toward the sea of faces, smiling, invigorated. "We did it together." But as the cheers continued, I caught sight of Rick, now subdued but still seething, being led away. He looked back at me, his eyes filled with venom and something colder. A faint smirk flashed before he disappeared into the crowd of officers. The battle was won, but I had a sinking feeling the war wasn't over. Suddenly, a voice buzzed through a megaphone from the edge of the crowd. "This is far from over, Weston. The truth has consequences you won't escape." It was the investigator, making it clear this was only the beginning. My heart raced with the realization that while today had ended Rick's reign, it had ignited a fight that would echo beyond this moment, a fight for justice, for truth, and for every voice that had been silenced. The true story of resilience had only just begun, and I was ready to take it head on, because I would never let fear dictate my future again.